Rob turned and headed for the door, his purpose for the visit accomplished. "What would Jenny's plan of action include?" Rob stopped, turned to face me, a look of surprised disbelief on his face. I waited. A simple question, and he seemed to think there were a bunch of simple answers. Rob's last statement was fine. I wasn't going to correct him. He had identified what he thought was a specific plan of action, for me. What I wanted to know was whether he, or she for that matter, had a similar plan of action. In Rob's case, for his sister. "Well, yes. To reiterate what I've already said, Ted, Jen's plan of action is to apologize for the way she acted with Craig, and she wants to show how much you mean to her every day." "Only when you pull your head out of your ass and come home to her. Come on, Ted, take that first step. Show Jen how much you love her, man. Go home, grab your wife and your life, and be happy." "Rob, does your phone have a record function?" "Yeah, of course it does. Why?" "Look, get it out and press record. Do it." There was a look of outright reluctance on his face now, bordering on, what? I'd guess mocking indignation would be close. "Do what I'm asking you to do, Rob. You stood up for your sister, presented her case. Yes, I'm grateful for that, for understanding. So if we want to continue our life together, I can't think of a better mediator than you, Rob, at least at this early period." Rob didn't look at me. The conversation took a sharp turn. About him. He realized, rightly, that it might embarrass him. I said to him, "Call me a wuss again and back it up." "Wait a minute, Ted. I did it myself. I don't represent Jenny at all." "Oh, good, so she doesn't know you're here." "No, you know she does. That's not what I'm talking about, Ted." Then what are you saying, my friend?" Silence. Silence and a pause. I use both to my advantage, both in life and in business relationships. Rob knew what it meant, too. I used it in negotiations where he was present. It is a period of reflection for those I deal with. Is there a hidden message? Of course there is. So what is the message? Here's one. Next time you open your mouth, you'd better keep your mouth shut. "Oh, so she didn't give you her blessing to come to me?" I asked him condescendingly. "No, I mean, yes. Well, okay, yes. You know she did, Ted." I made my point, and he pressed record, placing his phone on the table. "That's where it would be best. So I don't know if I told you that." "I don't think I have. Chuck Sanders called me and told me how in the last few weeks before we broke up, Chuck and Susan were in different places around town and managed to run into Jerry Craig and Jenny on their dates or lunches or whatever. You know these details, so I won't repeat it again. Anyway, I don't remember everything we both talked about in the rest of this conversation. I was still stunned by everything that had happened when he called. Something I remembered before Chuck ended the conversation. He was hoping that we would find our way back to each other, that Jenny would apologize for such a stupid stunt. Apologize not only to me, but to him, Susan, and the others she and Craig had managed to bump into on their dates. All too clearly, I wasn't sure about that part of the conversation. In any case, I had time to think about it. I called him back and asked him to refresh my memory of what he had originally said. Susan was there, so if Jenny has trouble believing what I'm saying, ask her to call Susan. She's more than willing, though she'll have to put up with the verbal scolding. Anyway, Chuck's initial statement was pretty much what I just said. But he also added that most senior executives have unwritten rules they follow that they feel entitled to only give lip service when it comes to apologizing without actually owning up to it, especially if the finger is pointed directly at them. He said they use terms like going forward and moving on as an indication that an apology has been expressed and they never need to revisit the topic again. Never commit to fixing the failure, but express a hesitant attempt to say that it won't happen again with as few affected parties as they deem necessary. In his opinion, he said two things were important. First, he had no doubt that Jen was embedded in both the faith and the culture. Second, he said that if Susan pulled a stunt like that, he would accept nothing less than a written apology to all parties who were affected by her stunt or her actions came into contact. Chuck says if she means what she says, she'll do the right thing. So, Rob, take that message to Jenny. She wants to apologize is a great start. There are a lot of rumors and innuendo going around about the companies and people we work with, so she's going to have to give up her job. But if she can fix that, that would be a good start. After gathering my thoughts, I continued. In return, I need to explain to her where I've been wrong and slip back into our lives, where trust is now lacking, and why. I really need to acknowledge that. It's my mistake, and it's central to this mess. I've missed telling her about important moments in my adult life, the bad relationship with my mom and dad. I failed to express my deep-seated fears to the one person I should have trusted with this knowledge, Jen. I won't do that here with you. I will meet face-to-face when and if the need arises. Honestly, Rob, I don't know where Jen and I will end up, but given the circumstances, it's a move I'm very comfortable with. Feeling the sadness of it all now, I paused, gathering my thoughts before continuing. Heck, Jen might flatly reject this. Either way, at least it might provide some closure for both of us if things don't work out. Who knows? I nodded, and Rob turned off his phone. She's not going to like this, not at all. What Chuck said, and for what it's worth, he's right about all of it. But given that she's made what she thinks are some pretty deep concessions so far, she'll see it as further undermining what she thinks should be an equal relationship and guilt. Thus, you think she shouldn't have to address the pain and embarrassment she caused with her stunt? No, I totally agree with you on how you explained it. Chuck and Susan's contribution. But I know my sister. I'm guessing she's going to persevere. Well, I guess we'll find out. I'm going to tell her everything I need to know if she goes along with the plan, so I guess we'll just wait then. Rob looked dejected. Enjoy your day, Rob. You came in expecting me to blow up and dismiss our conversation, and you leave with more than a glimmer of hope. And I couldn't help myself from telling him, we're moving forward. I'm not sure he appreciated the humor, but judging by the crooked half-smile, I don't think he missed the irony. I did think he was right, though as I prepared to explain and expose what had happened in my early life, I was sure Jenny wouldn't accept my plan, so I didn't wait impatiently at all. Being away from work and relaxing, if that was what it was, I talked to my boys. It was delayed and felt more like a set of what if or why don't we try scenarios, trying to improve and update the product. I decided that perhaps some personal investment in a few seminars and workshops on new technology products might not be unreasonable, so I signed up for one organized by a major player in virtual hardware and software for assimilating everything from construction, road building and engineering design, to defense and the production line. They're European and global, but the U.S. headquarters is in Texas, so I didn't look up where the conference was being held, assuming it would be Dallas-Fort Worth. When the invitation came through, the venue was Vegas. I told Rob, and he wholeheartedly supported me and asked if there was room for one more of our team. I told him to send whoever he liked and how many he thought would benefit. I didn't tell them that. They would all want to go. Well, I'm not going to point you to your job, decide on someone, and sign them up. Okay, consider it done. Before I go, have you heard from Jenny, Ted? No. Anything else, Rob? No, Ted, no. I could tell by the tone of his voice that he was hoping for more, but I wasn't about to give him false hope. I could feel his sadness. What is, is. The four of us drove to Vegas. One senior supervisor, Brian, the lead expert software developer, Callum, and his new right-hand man, Veronica. I suggested that they feel comfortable enough to sit wherever they want. They don't need to sit with me. The opportunity to reach out to others in the area was the perfect time to do so. Brian had already made his decision. There were several people he knew there with similar backgrounds and experience. Some of the lectures related to his leadership role and gave an insight into new methods of inspection, excellent ones. Callum and Veronica chose to stay with the group. They weren't alone. I recognized those around them. I recognized that they were from one company or another and all sat together. It was a chance to meet and interact with Veronica for the first time, and as the first day approached lunchtime, the three of us talked and shared the information we had gathered, formed our own ideas, and presented our own critiques. Everything we learned was quite insightful and enlightening. At lunchtime, Brian called. I didn't know where he was since the conference had an exhibit area. Boss, did you know that Destin has a booth here? No, Brian, I didn't. Okay, just a heads up then. I recognized a couple of their employees and upper management that are here. Talked to one of their tipsters, said it was all put together at the last minute. Just thought you should know. Thanks for the heads up, Brian. I appreciate it. I had a feeling that Destin's upper management probably meant that Jenny was here too. It wasn't a problem, but I was grateful for the warning, even though I would have to just let events unfold if that was the case. Like I said, it is what it is. It wasn't until after all the presentations were done that she showed up. All four of us were deciding what we were going to do for dinner and afterward. I had nothing planned at all, but I had excused myself from the whole Vegas thing. An early night seemed to be on the agenda. The others were talking about Fremont Street or the many things they could do, though the starting point would be to eat at our hotel. I could feel her presence, being in our group and where they looked but didn't see her. And then she was there. Brian gathered the others, said we would all meet at the hotel, and left us. There was a moment when Jenny and Veronica looked at each other and I had to hide the smile that appeared on my face. "Hi, Jenny." "Hi to you too, Ted." I thought, "Well, it's your show, Jenny," and remained silent. It was an awkward moment, but she had made some effort to be here, so I'll leave her with a level of control over the current situation. "Ted, how do you feel about us getting together tonight and maybe talking things over? You know, just us. Here, in Vegas, neutral territory. Nothing's bothering us." "Only if you want to, Ted. No pressure at all." So, in order to develop a plan for each of us? For a second, I noticed a distinct grimace appear on Jenny's face before she realized my hard stare, and it was gone. "Yes, Ted, yes, for the purpose of being able to say it, without the anger overwhelming us both and without the added drama." Now she stood in silent hope. The anticipation was fully reflected on her face. Her hands clasped together, fingers intertwined, and one thumb on top of the other, nervously rubbing the other. Her slightly slumped shoulders indicated a nervousness in her that I had never seen before. "I think we should do this, at my hotel or yours." As it turned out, we weren't that far apart, and since it didn't bother me in the slightest, we decided to meet at her place. So 2 hours later, we met at one of the guest bars at her hotel. "Okay, Jen, feel free to start." She started a sentence 3 times before she uttered a single word, and when she did, she was immediately interrupted by the waitress asking us to order drinks. The frustration of the moment finally got her to start. "I listened to your words that you recorded on Rob's cell phone. He sent the recording to me. Oh, not only did he send it to me, he told me what I did with my stunt, how I managed to hurt and embarrass you, him, and all those around us. He told me unequivocally that in the near future I could count on him and Diana for one thing and one thing only, not to be around for anything at all that I might need them for. He would reconsider it depending on how I handled the situation, and that I needed to sort out my actions and stop being such a narcissist. We didn't talk, and one day when I called Diane, she asked me if I had completed the assignment Rob or you had set me, and when I stammered, she hung up on me. The first and second time I listened to your tape, I almost had a stroke. I raged and raged again. I screamed. I called you every dirty word I could think of, cursed you in every way I could think of, but I really only listened to the parts where you mentioned my failures, the part where I disappointed everyone, how I was consumed with believing in the culture, even if it was wrong." Jenny fell silent. This must be a new common trend for both of us. Her eyes began to water, still drilling a hole in the floor 6 feet from where she sat, gathering her thoughts, giving them some semblance, I suppose. So far she had been clear and concise, but the next words were spoken quietly, slowly, deliberate. "I listened to what you said, about your young life and how that past has affected your present, our preliminary message. I listened to you apologize for not telling me earlier about what had happened, that it was your fault, that you needed to explain it to me and provide some closure, and also that it was your own fault for this failure. I played that tape over and over again until I realized that it wasn't just about what you said, but how you said it, with true belief in what you said and how you felt. Almost everything that mattered was also about what was said. But I'm right. Wasn't there love in what you said too?" "Yes, but it had to be there, Jenny. It just doesn't go away. It's in the shadows, hides in the background, but if it was true and honest in the first place, it would always be there. Yes." Looking at each other, we both squeezed out a nervous smile. "Can I ask you a big favor?" "Sure." "Can we go up to my room? I really need to show you something." So, off we went. She quickly went to her tablet and sat down, asking me to pull up a chair while she opened the file. She grabbed her cell phone, picked a number, dialed it, and put it on speakerphone. "Rob, it's me. Please don't hang up." "Hey, Jen, sis, you know what I said and what it's going to take, so I'm not going to interrupt you. So did you get my letter?" "We all did, Jen. I've talked to most of the people you've sent and posted to, and they've all been very supportive. You have to read the emails in the mail. They all sent you one at a time. It took a lot to get up in front of my team and tell them in person. Let me tell you that I am proud of you for doing this." Diane cried a little bit over all of this, but I think the million-dollar question is, how did Ted take it? "Rob, Ted's here, but I haven't shown it to him. That's the next step." "Okay, I won't keep you. Show it to him now, and good luck. We'll talk later." "Bye, sis." She did it, all of it. Explained the whole stupid thing to everyone. She called it a heartless, destructive, misguided act, and there was no doubting the sincerity of her apology. She explained the need to admit her mistakes and to disregard the wrong decisions and the people negatively affected. She used the information that Chuck Sanders had told me about, a right that she felt was related to the position she held, the management culture and the unwritten code that she had grown up with in her professional life, and that she had never questioned. She explained that the content of the letter might not please her superiors, but it was something she was willing to risk and deal with if it became necessary. She apologized. She asked, not demanded, our forgiveness if it was ever possible to do so in the future. The letter was humble and honest. She ended her letter by writing that she had a new goal to strive for. "I now wake up every morning with the desire to be the best person I can be." I sat smiling at her letter. I only had to read it once. I didn't have to look at her to know she was waiting for my response. A positive expectation. A way forward that would help us both heal, or worse, even if the reconciliation of our marriage didn't happen, at least it would be a sign that her apology had started us moving in the right direction. "I think we still have a bit of a journey ahead of us. Jen, this is a great start that I can't or won't ignore." I paused, pulled her to me, reached out and pulled her face close enough that I could stick my tongue right into her mouth. We were out of breath when we pulled away from each other. A nervous smile played on her lips. I noticed the insistent, searching look on her face, but a brighter glint in her eyes, which had been missing for a while. Whether to decide matters or not, it was my turn. "Call your brother. Tell him I read your letter. Besides, I don't need his help anymore. He'll know what I mean." And much more quietly I added, "Now let's get comfortable because, honey, I have a story for you."